On every episode, we are going to be also sharing a story behind the story. And this is a profile piece, someone who has an inspirational story to share that we can all learn from. I thought today we should talk a little bit about your story, actually, Brandon, because what you have endured and what you've written about and what you speak about, and really in large part, the reason you left your job in local news is to realize your passion, and that is helping people who have suffered sex abuse and who are walking through addiction. For those who don't know your story, just share a little bit about what you wrote in your book, and then we'll talk about what you've gone through recently.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I wrote that book back in 2018. It published in 2019. And people always ask you, what motivated you to put your story out there like I did? Because when I wrote that book, the night before, the publisher emailed me and says, Brandon, now's your chance. Like, now's your chance to go back and delete anything out of the book that you don't want published. And I panicked that night before that book was published, and I started deleting chapters. Things like that I just felt were too extreme for the public to understand. I woke up the next morning and I almost had this epiphany going, no, you're gonna put everything back in that book. And because if you're gonna tell a story, you're gonna tell the truth. Every little detail about the trauma that I suffered and my experiences are all in that book, and I know you've read it. As a matter of fact, people like look at me and they're like, whoa, like you really told everything. But what motivated me to do that? Here in the Valley, when I was working over at Arizona's Family, I did a mini documentary about harm reduction. And I had never been open about my addiction up until that point in 2017. I hadn't. I always kept it private. And so I saw when that documentary aired on TV, on social media, I saw people writing the most hurtful comments I have ever read. People like, these people are trash. These people are scum. Who cares about these heroin addicts? Let them die. And when I was reading that from some of the viewers who tuned into me nightly, I was like, my God, do they think of me as a piece of trash? Do these viewers think of me as a piece of scum? Because I am those people in line getting those heroin.
You were a meth addict, right?
I was a meth and heroin addict. And so that was the motivating factor going, you know what? I have to write my story. I've got to change the dialogue. I've got to flip the script in the way people view mental health. I had no idea it would lead me to where I am today, but writing that book was just the first chapter of my life story about really delving into behavioral health. But you're right, I did walk away from local news.
You took a huge risk because at the time, you know, being on the air, you know, when we anchor the news, it's just the nature of the business that you have a well-sculpted public image. So, you know, coming out and saying I'm a recovered heroin and meth addict, suffer from mental health challenges, and a sex abuse survivor, this is risky for you telling this story. What do you think it was that allowed you to overcome that fear and really go public?
Well, first off, I walked away from the news set for about 8 months. I took a sabbatical to finish writing that story.
I remember because I was your co-anchor at the time.
And I took a sabbatical. I left without ever having the intention to come back because I truly felt that when people read this, no news director or news manager would ever hire somebody who was so graphic and descriptive of the trauma that I suffered, but also what I did as an adult. Choices that I made as an adult were poor life choices. And I just felt like I'm never going to have a news career again. Here's what we found. When Arizona's Family welcomed me back to the Valley, listen, they did their research. And what they found was that the public actually felt more endeared to me after I was so open and honest. They didn't push me away. They didn't look at me as somebody to be discarded to. And I'll tell you why. Because every family in America knows someone who's a recovering addict or somebody suffering from some sort of behavioral health issue. But you know what it is? We grow up in these family systems where they're like, don't air your dirty laundry, keep it all in the house. But the more we all air that laundry, the more we realize everybody's got that dirty laundry. And we realize how normal addiction is, how normal some of these behavioral health things are. And the more we normalize it, the easier it is for somebody to ask for help. And that is my life's purpose, just to make it easier.
You have been a champion. And I want to tell everyone, you know, Brandon and I are coming to you live from our new collaborative center, the Center for Positive Media. We'll be sharing more about this and a lot of behind the scenes, what's going on here in the center. And one of the things that's happening here is you do art therapy, and that was really your passion. And Brandon, you help a variety of behavioral health groups, folks who are going through addiction. And it is incredible, really, because I'm in there a lot with you. And it is incredible to see how you interact, because they feel the love from you. Yeah. You don't look at yourself as any better than any of them.
Yeah, definitely don't put myself on a pedestal in that room. And to see people walk into my art studio, 90 people a day, some of them so broken, fresh out of detox. They haven't smiled in years, right? Because they become so dependent on drugs. Within 90 minutes, to see them crack a smile, to see them crack a joke, to see them laugh, to see them dancing to old school music that we pump in there.
Yeah.
That's my life's purpose. I just want to see that person smile a little bit, tap into that creativity, get that dopamine back flowing, and find out you do have value, you do have purpose. Don't let what happened in the past define you.
When you talk about relapse, one of the things that I know is really important to you is to remove the shame.
Yes, we have to, and we remove the shame by normalizing relapse. And I think we get so caught up in this race for perfection in recovery, and we do that by collecting chips, right? I have 13 years of continuous recovery, but when you relapse in many 12-step programs, they make you start over from day one. You have to cash in all of those years of chips and collect a white medallion, and it's a 24-hour chip. That was too daunting for me. And so I had so much shame that I found no purpose anymore for my life. And that's when I did play Russian roulette and want to end my life without any purpose. However, going through that darkness led me to the light.